How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. Today we're looking at the number one penny stock that I'm bullish on, and it's one that Jeremy from Financial Education has talked about recently, and there's just some really interesting things going on with the stock in general. So the company itself is doing some really great stuff, and I'm bullish on the company, but there's a whole nother side to this that I think people are starting to notice, and I've covered this in videos before, but continuously happens, and it's making me good money in the meantime. So I wanted to cover it. I wanted to tell you about the stock again because I am, again, very bullish on it. I am up 60%, and I'd be up even more than that, but I bought in along the way, so I've actually raised my cost basis. And originally I bought in, and if I just bought that amount, I would be up almost 100% by now. So we'll get right into it, but before we do, I'm not going to ask you anything else today besides to hit the like button. Please hit that, and it will send out this video to more people, and then also comment down below what your thoughts are on this. So we're looking at Planet 13 stock today, and they had some good news that came out recently, but there's still a little bit of fishiness that's going on here. I don't think Jeremy from Financial Education is pumping and dumping or anything like that. I think that he's shown us, for the most part, that he's really holding on to Planet 13. Of course, we don't see all his accounts. And if you don't know who Financial Education is, or Jeremy from Financial Education, he is one of the largest finance YouTubers in the space. So he has a lot of pull. He has a lot of subscribers. So when he talks about a small company, it tends to change the price of that company. So a lot of people start investing in it, and then the price jumps up. So I'll show you exactly what's happened every time that he's talked about Planet 13 in a standalone video. And we'll start here with the good news that came out. So as you can see here, the stock jumped almost 13.5% today. And the good news that came out was that they were awarded a Nevada dispensary license. So what does that mean? They agreed to a settlement of its ongoing lawsuit against the Nevada Department of Taxation. They were able to get a license for Planet 13's former dispensary located at 4850 Sunset Road, Las Vegas. So this was a fully built out 4,750 square foot store. They were able to, back when they were actually open, gross about $4.9 million in revenue with a gross margin of 53%. So that's amazing. That is a very good gross margin. So they were able to do that, and they require no capex to reopen. So I think that they're going to try to get this open very quickly. Now, this is great news, of course, right? So they're talking about maybe $1 to $2 to $3 million worth of net income, and they're talking about $5 million in revenue, and that's just based on their 2018 numbers. Of course, they've been able to grow the company a lot, and they've been able to scale a lot, so it's probably going to be higher than this. But as we look here, this information came out on August 10 at 6:58 a.m. So going back to their stock price, it came out in the morning. They actually we're at 275. Over the next 2 days, they really didn't increase at all. They increased 2 cents. And then Jeremy from Financial Education brought this up. He talked about it in a video. And the next day, the stock was up 8% in the morning. And then it finished up 13.5%. There was no news that day or the day before. It was from Monday, and the stock price jumped on Wednesday after Jeremy made a video on it. So this is something that constantly is happening, and I've covered this in a video before, but I had to cover it again because it keeps happening. There are days where Jeremy talked about Planet 13, and it jumps significantly. It's hard to tell on this chart because it's pretty zoomed out, but when he talks about it, it jumps dramatically. So just looking at the stock itself, he has talked about it in a handful of videos by itself. So a lot of the time he won't talk about the name of it. Sometimes he does. So in this video, he doesn't say that it's Planet 13 on the thumbnail or in the title. On this one, he did. And I scoured over the last 3-4 months since the stock has really gone parabolic, and I found a handful of videos that he only talked about that stock in. Now, he talks about it in other videos too, so I didn't want to cover those as much because there isn't as much light shed on the company. but I charted out each time he talks about the stock. If we look here, he talked about it on June 2, so that was that video that I pointed out just a second ago, the $25,000 $1 stock. Before he talked about it, it was $1.26. Afterwards, it was $1.59, so it went up 26.2%. The next day, he talked about how much it went up, and it still went up 4% after he talked about how crazy it was that it went up that much. And it continued to happen. June 11, it went up 8.5%. July 13, 11.4. Just a couple days later, 5.6. He talked about it again, and it jumped up again. And it just continues to happen, with the last one being 13.4%. I mean, there could be more videos that he's talked about it in just Planet 13 stock, but these are the ones that I could find. There are about 7 of them, and to his credit, they're all on his smaller channel, so it's not like he's putting out to his 500,000 subscribers. Maybe that's on purpose, but there's an average movement of about 11.6%. So I caught this pretty early on. I made a video where I talked about the stock price increases. I think I did it right in early June. So I made a video talking about how when he talks about the stock, it's dramatically causing the price to go up. I bought some myself. I then made another video about how I didn't buy enough, and then I bought more of it. And since then, I'm still up massively. So the first time that I bought in, it was right around $1.74. Now it's at $3.14. Now I bought more when it was around $2.20. And right then I thought, okay, this is kind of crazy because the stock's up so much. And now it's up a significant amount since then. It's up almost 50% since I bought in more. This is one of those stocks where it's such a growth stock that it's hard to want to buy more after you're up significantly. But I think I might have to end up putting in a really sizable amount of money into this stock soon. And I have several reasons for that, and I'll cover why I'm so bullish on the stock in general after I finish this up about Jeremy. But I wanted to go over this because this is something that I see really as an adrenaline shot in the arm. So if the stock ends up being a bad company or a bad stock to own, I don't think Jeremy will continue to pump it up. I think he'll sell it. I don't think he'll do anything mischievous, but it's just something where as long as the company stays in good standing and it stays as a good, solid investment, Jeremy is going to continue to talk about it. It's going to continue to drive the price up, even maybe past where it should be. So that is just something to consider. Now, if you want to get more information on Jeremy and what happens when he talks about these stocks, you can go over to the playlist tab, and you can go over to Financial Education's Jeremy Effect. This is a playlist I've made. This will be the 5th video in it, and I'll also put it at the end of the video, so stay through to the end and you can just click it there. But you can watch how he's talked about different stocks and the effect that it's had on them. So it's interesting with these smaller stocks what happens. Now, this is really good news just in general for the company, the actual news that came out, because they have about $66 million in revenue as of last year. Now, this is a part of their business that could bring in another $5 million if it's just at the 2018 numbers. So that is a significant amount. That's about 8 or 9% increase to their revenues. That would also increase their net income or make it less negative, hopefully too, because they have such a high margin on that business. It's not the exact same thing as what they have right now. They have that major superstore. This is a much smaller store. So that is just something to consider, that it is really good news, but it seems odd that the stock price went up days after this news came out. So the company in general, I am bullish on it. There are a handful of reasons that I'm bullish. So first of all, I just think this is a really good growth company. So as you can see from the chart, it went from $1.5 million to $9 million, so about 6 times increase. Then it doubled again, then it tripled, and now it stayed about the same this last year, but we went through Rona, and that's been difficult. They're talking about building more superstores, so I think they have a good company outlook. So they're not trying to just keep it to this one building. They want to grow 5 to 10 of these. So if they're able to increase their revenue 5, 10x in the next 5 to 10 years, I think that's drastically going to push the stock price up. There's also just this changing sentiment in society around what they do. So if you don't know, I guess I didn't cover it. They are a dispensary, and they are just in an age where a lot of people are changing their views on it, just people in general. And then there's also this changing legislation that is making it a lot more accessible to people. So a lot of states are legalizing it. The country will probably legalize it at some point so they can get tax revenue. So it's becoming more of a norm in society, and like less like just hoodlums do it and less like it's just a gateway. So I think a lot of people are becoming more inclined to try it. Also, like I said, they're just changing the legislation too, so it's becoming more and more available to a lot of people. There also is going to be this constant adrenaline shot in the arm for this company from Jeremy. So this is just what I talked about before. While a great company might increase a little bit, but maybe they don't have the star power or they don't have the marketing, especially if they're a small company like this, Jeremy constantly talks about it and spreads it to 100,000 investors. Now, these aren't just your everyday investors. These are people that like to watch investing videos in their spare time. A lot of these people are investing hundreds of thousands of dollars regularly every year. So that's just something to consider, that there is a lot of star power behind the stock because Jeremy likes it. Now, also, you might be cautious about buying a stock that's gone up this much, but Jeremy kind of covered this in his video too, but I have talked about this before, that it can be really good for a company for the stock price to go up this much, because right now, Planet 13 needs to expand. They want to expand to more superstores, so they need to raise capital somehow. There are two different ways to do this. They can either get debt, so they can try to take out loans at a certain percent interest rate, or they can dilute their shares and sell more shares of their company. Now, typically, a lot of people don't like this, but when the share price is up as much as it is, so it's gone up almost 100% just in the last couple months. So when the share price is up this much, you have to dilute shares a lot less because you can sell a lot less shares and make the same amount of money. They are going to be able to dilute their shares and expand a lot cheaper than they were before. So this is really great that the share price is up this high. Hopefully they can try to raise some capital by actually selling shares, which I don't know in the short term whether that will make the stock price go down. Typically it does. But if enough people realize that this is really good for the company, it might actually raise the share price. So I really think, and I've never said this before on the channel, that this is an easy money stock. This is a stock where you probably will see a 10% return at some point just from Jeremy talking about this. I mean, from what we saw there, he's talked about it 7 times over the last 2 months, 2.5 months. It's gone up about 150% just in the last 2 months or so. So this is a significant increase. I think that this is a company that I want to invest more in. It is just a speculative play because this is a very small company. It's about $300-400 million market cap, and it's only one superstore right now with this other building now. So let me know your thoughts below. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And for everyone that's wondering, you can buy this stock on Fidelity. That's the one that I've been using. You can't buy it on Robinhood, WeBull, on M1 Finance. But if you do want to support the channel and sign up for any of those, I do have links in the description below. It really helps me out, and you can get some free stocks or just start your investing depending on which of those brokerages you decide to open up your account through. So I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Share this to anyone that you know that likes financial education, and I appreciate it. I will see you in the next video. Bye.